those stars. He was a policeman that worked on a lot, and he knew better than anybody. And Jimmy came up, and big, tall man, shook my hand. I'm happy to meet you. Good luck to you on your career. Jimmy Stewart. I mean, I could have met Bugsy Schlamm. I've never heard of him. But Jimmy Stewart was a major player. And about the third day later, I would stroll around the gate of the studio, which was open. It was a nice one. Right next door to it was a newsstand and candies, and next to that, and plus cigarettes, tobacco, and that kind of stuff. And I was just outside the door of where the commissary started. And so that's where I hung out. Other actors had come by, we talked. And as I was leaving, I went to the gate to start to go out. And I look over my shoulder, and I see this girl, early knockout. You can't describe her any other way. That's the way I describe her. From toe to the top of her head. Everything fit, like on a paper. I had looked at this stuff. And people that drew these things for articles, what made a perfect person. And I like that idea because I was practicing to become a perfect person. But dimensions were like, but my speech and a few other details didn't quite make it, but I was going to make it. And there she's standing, this girl, with a see-through blouse, a light brassiere, with a shirt made of fabric like you can see through, you know, a silk shirt, I guess, and there she's standing. And the skirts in those days were up and down, you know, the big deal about mini skirts. I saw more mini skirts than they got in the books. All over, the girls all wore mini skirts. And her legs were divine. I don't know what they were, but they were divine. I don't know what it was that made me crazy.
Was she Marilyn then, or was she still Norma Jean?
No, I think she was someone else at that time. Her calves and legs were so beautiful. They must have been almost 3-inch heels, a little jacket and a purse. So I said, hello. I'd sick the Queen Mary with that hello. The captain would jump off, hello. And she said, hello. I said, Irving had already told me that this girl lived in L.A. and she was waiting for a cab. So I said to her, can I drive you in? She said, well, I've already ordered a car. And I turned and looked at Irving, cancel the cab. I said, yes. I said, please. So he went and canceled the cab. I said, please join me. I had a Buick with Dynaflow drive, a convertible that was torn. The top was torn. Pale green. I could have put away the Queen if I wanted. But I wasn't in England. Anyways, she says, I loved it when she got in the cab in my car with me top down, beautiful weather. Oh, sometime just before May, my birthday was coming up. And her birthday too, I didn't know that. And she sat down next to me. And I took the rear view mirror and twisted it just a little bit. And now I saw her at the end of the mirror. Her hair was red and she dyed in a ponytail. Her features were wonderful. Her breasts were divine. She's sitting next to me and we're driving into town. Now, where am I going to get a girl like this to drive her into town except at the studio? You know? Oh, the waiting you had to do before she could call mother and tell her. So I could tell that she was not engaged to anybody, or there was nobody sitting on top of her, if you'll excuse the expression. And there we are driving. You drive out under the freeway, down a little further with a ramp, and then all of a sudden you were on the freeway, the Los Angeles freeway, going up from the valley to downtown Los Angeles, or from the valley to LA, driving, top down, smelling good. I always turn, forgive me for going into these details, I love telling the story this way. I turned the heat on, and it was a summer day. I turned the heat on just enough for a little currency. And I imagine, please, don't let me offend you, I imagine that warm air was going up her skirt. And you know what it was doing. Relaxing her. Well, once, I had, everything was right. So we chit-chatted about movies. She'd like to know what the studios were like. In a quick nutshell, I told her what they were. I never forgot with Marilyn or anybody else that I was in the movies or going to the movies. And I would do everything and anything I could to improve myself and other people. I knew other people had the same dimension, the same dilemma I did. So let him join me. And yes, please.
And you had a relationship with Marilyn at that time, but it was some years later, at least 10 years later, that you started with her in Some Like It Hot.
In Some Like It Hot. Well, in between that time, I didn't know her name until we got to the end of my trip with her in the car. I told her everything about me. Because she used to be Bernie Schwartz. She never said anything. How could you say it? With this big mouth boyfriend, hoping he's going to be the boyfriend. So just before she got out of the car, down the street, it wasn't far from the freeway. San Diego Freeway it was called. She says to me, "My name is Marilyn." "Oh, beautiful, Marilyn Monroe." I said, "Outstanding. Yeah, really nice." She says, "I was not this all the time." I said, "Oh, do you want to tell me what your name was?" She said, "No." I said, "Then don't. For me, you stepped out of nowhere. And I'm in Hollywood and so are you. I predict both of us are going to do good. I was the one that was on the contract. She hadn't been put on the contract. About a year later, she got a contract. I did the 20th. Anyway, when we looked at each other, my dear friends, we knew something was going to happen. It was in my stomach. As it popped out of me, I felt it. I broke out in a little sweat. The smell of her was wonderful. Her hair on the back of her neck was, my wife Jilly reminds me of Marilyn.